Have you ever found yourself on a flight wondering how much the person sitting next to you paid for the seat? Chances are they paid a different price. But why? It's the same plane after all, and you're in the same seating class as them. Who gets to decide how much a seat is worth? Even though it appears to be random, behind it lies a sophisticated and evolving system designed to extract as much revenue as possible from every traveler. How does it work? Let me explain. The airline industry is a very competitive and cutthroat business, but before the 1970s, airline pricing was relatively straightforward because it was heavily regulated. Governments controlled which routes airlines could operate and what fares they could charge. This meant that ticket prices were stable, but it also made air travel a luxury that only few could afford. Everything changed with the Airline Deregulation Act of 1978 in the United States. This legislation removed government control over fares, routes, and market entry, allowing airlines to set their own prices and compete more freely. While this opened up air travel to a much broader audience, it also introduced a new challenge for airlines. How could they maximize revenue in this new competitive environment? After all, the airline business has notoriously low profit margins. And this is where we enter the world of revenue management. In a deregulated market, airlines quickly realized that they could no longer rely on a one-size-fits-all pricing model. Instead, they needed to price tickets depending on people's willingness to pay. The solution was to create a complex system of booking classes, also referred to as fare classes or fare buckets. A booking class is not the same as a travel class, like economy or business. Instead, it's a code that represents a specific fare with its own set of rules and restrictions. There is the full fare class, and then the discounted fare classes for the same seat. For example, the One World Airline Alliance uses the letter J to represent the full fare business class. Their discounted business classes are then represented by the letters D, C, R, and I. But let's use some hypothetical numbers so it's a bit clearer. Let's assume that British Airways sets the full fare business class flight from London to New York to be $5,000. Because they know it's unlikely they sell all the business class tickets at $5,000, the airline will then set some rules for when the discounted fares apply. So let's assume they decide that when less than 80% of the business class seats are booked, the fare is $4,500. When less than 60% of the seats are booked, the fare is $4,000. For less than 40% booked, the fare becomes $3,000, and for less than 20% booked, it's $2,000. Of course, these rules and fares are made up in this example, but you can see how the airline is trying to fill as many of the seats as possible while also increasing the prices to make more revenue. This example only used the number of seats left as the rule, but there are various rules that airlines can apply. And that's also why there are countless booking classes. Some classes are for travelers who only book one way. Other classes categorize travelers in terms of how many days they're staying at their destination. But why have so many booking classes? The answer lies in understanding that not all travelers are the same. All of this is in the effort to tailor the price to each traveler and make sure that they are paying as much as possible for the tickets. Airlines know that there are two primary types of passengers: leisure travelers and business travelers. Leisure travelers are usually more price sensitive and flexible with their travel dates, booking well in advance to get the best deal. Business travelers, on the other hand, often book closer to the departure date and are less sensitive to price, as their companies often foot the bill. To cater to these different types of travelers, airlines use sophisticated algorithms that adjust prices in real time based on many factors, and this is also known as dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing considers several factors, including how many seats have already been sold, how close the flight is to departure, and the historical demand for that particular route and time. For example, if an airline notices that a flight is filling up quickly, the algorithm might increase prices to capitalize on this high demand. Conversely, if a flight is not selling well, the airline might lower prices or open up additional discount fare classes to fill the remaining seats. But not all routes are created equal. Some routes are predominantly business routes, while others are more popular with leisure travelers, leading to distinct pricing dynamics for each. Business routes connecting major financial hubs like New York and London typically see a high volume of last-minute bookings, as business travelers often need to fly on short notice. As a result, airlines price these routes higher, particularly close to the departure date, knowing that companies are willing to pay a premium for flexibility. In contrast, leisure routes, which connect vacation destinations like Mykonos or Bali, tend to attract price-sensitive travelers who plan their trips well in advance. Airlines often lower fares on these routes early on, incentivizing early bookings, and gradually increase the prices as the departure date nears. This difference in pricing strategies is key to allowing airlines to take advantage of the different traveling styles people have. Now maybe this is already sounding quite complex with all the different components influencing the price of a seat, and you're right, but airlines have to deal with even more complexity than this in their strategies. So far we've only talked about pricing for one airline, but what if there are two or more airlines operating on the same route? Competition can drive prices down as carriers try to undercut each other. However, if one airline lowers its prices, others will quickly follow, leading to a price war that can benefit consumers but cut into airline profits. Conversely, if an airline has a monopoly on a particular route, they can afford to keep prices higher, knowing that passengers have fewer options. Seasonal demand also affects prices. During peak travel times, such as holidays or school vacations, airlines know that demand will be high, so they raise their prices accordingly. On the other hand, during off-peak periods, you might find much lower fares as airlines try to fill the seats that would otherwise go empty. Another critical aspect of modern airline pricing is the rise of ancillary revenue, money made from services other than the ticket price. This includes fees for checked baggage, seat selection, food and beverages, and even in-flight Wi-Fi. Low-cost carriers pioneered this model, offering a low base fare but charging for almost everything else. But traditional airlines also later adopted this model to remain competitive. By unbundling services that were once included in the ticket price, airlines can offer lower base fares, making their flights appear cheaper in search results. Passengers then pay for the services they want, allowing airlines to generate additional revenue from those who need more than just a seat. It seems like airlines have it all figured out in terms of pricing, but there's more to be improved. As technology continues to evolve, so too will airline pricing strategies. The use of artificial intelligence and machine learning is already becoming more prevalent, allowing airlines to fine-tune their pricing models even further. These systems can analyze vast amounts of data in real time, adjusting prices based on a constantly changing set of variables. For example, AI can help airlines better predict passenger behavior, such as how likely someone is to pay for an upgrade or add-ons like extra baggage. This can lead to more personalized pricing, where the price you see might be tailored specifically to you based on your previous booking history or even your browsing habits. We might also see more airlines bundling flights with other travel services like hotels or car rentals, all at a price tailored specifically to the traveler. The price you see for a seat is the result of a highly complex and dynamic system designed to maximize airline revenue. From the booking class you chose to the time of your purchase, every factor plays a role in determining how much you'll pay. While this might seem frustrating, these pricing strategies are essential for airlines to remain profitable in an industry where margins are razor thin. After all, the joke goes, how do you make $1 million in the airline business? You start with $1 billion.